Started. Welcome everyone to our live webinar series. And today we are having Victoria's story, choosing donor egg and beyond. Let's go to the next slide. So before we get started, I do want to encourage everyone to find the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. You may post anonymously any questions that you have here. Should you choose to have any questions to ask us. There is an option, there's a checkbox you'll need to mark to post in the Q&A anonymously, but we do ask that you post your questions here throughout the presentation, and at the end we will answer them. Okay. So welcome everyone. Today we are going to discuss the following. We're going to do a very quick introduction into Donor Egg Bank USA. We're then going to welcome Victoria Nino, who is a mother via egg donation. She's an author and a founder of Infertility Unfiltered. And then we're going to do a quick overview of our financial plans. And that's going to be with me. I am Tanya Torres, and at the end, we'll wrap up with a live Q&A. So let's go ahead and get started. So who is Donor Egg Bank USA? Donor Egg Bank USA is the #1 egg bank in the US. We've helped over 10,000 families with over 13,000 egg warmings since 2012. We have the largest catalog in the industry and had a beautiful addition of donors today. If you've received our email, we've added several donors to our database today. And all of these donors have received extensive genetic, psychological, and infectious disease screenings. Really wonderful donors that we work with. We offer a live birth guarantee that offers an additional peace of mind to protect your finances and your family planning, family building options with us. And we have a dedicated team of family building consultants available by phone, by chat, by email, who are ready to assist you every step of the way, help orient you, and answer questions that you might have. So without further ado, we welcome Victoria. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you. Can everyone see me? Because I can't see myself. I just want to make sure. Yes. Okay. Awesome. So, hi, everybody. I'm excited to be here and tell my story, especially with National Infertility Awareness Week here. I think it's really important that, we hear stories, real life stories, and to be able to connect with people that understand this very unique path. Someone just said they can't hear me. I just saw it in the chat.
I am checking. Let me just double check with my.
Okay, I just want to make sure before I continue. Oh, someone else can though. Okay, other people can hear me. Okay,
Awesome. Thank you.
great. Thank you guys. Yay, I recognize some of those names. So here I am. I'm Victoria Nino, and I am a long-term infertility veteran. Proud yet sad to say, right? I've survived endometriosis, stage 3 endometriosis, and infertility, I think, will always sort of be a part of my life. I would say collectively, probably 12 years of trying to be pregnant. And I'll share sort of like my journey through those years in the next few slides. But spoiler alert, I am a mother of two incredible, amazing children that I call my soul babies, because they truly are my soulmates, my soul's connection, via two different egg donors, which is a plot twist I did not expect. I happen to be the founder of Infertility Unfiltered, which is a education/support system for people experiencing infertility and specifically donor conception. So we focus a lot on the genetic grief, as well as like kind of the fun stuff like epigenetics. We bring in donor conceived people to talk through real life feelings and scenarios and address fears. It's a really great program that I created with all the best experts. I'm not at all the one, leading it. I do facilitate, but I'm more of a connector to bring in the right voices for you to have access to. And then I recently published a book, a kid's book called Our Hearts Match, which is a beautiful story of a T-Rex mama who has a baby via a brontosaurus egg. And we actually don't talk about egg donation in the book. It's all sort of implied. I did that because I wanted this book to be available to all kids, because I think that that's how we normalize this, is getting all families to see this way of life and this way to family, so that we can help, normalize, like I said, and change the world ultimately. And then I have an ebook. It's called Why I'm Glad My Eggs Didn't Work, which I'll share a little bit about what that means to me today. That's an ebook as well that you can just get on my website. But my mission is really just around creating normalcy, and making this awareness bigger than it is today. Every day I can. You can go to the next slide. So my journey is very long, like I said, and I'll try to make this to the point because I could go on for hours about all the things I did to get where I am today. The very early stages go back to 2013, when I was in my very early 30s and, thought I had all of the hope in the world. With IUI, I thought maybe that would work. And then we moved to IVF, and again, several treatments of all of these things. I won't bore you with all the details. January 2015, so 2 years later, after 2 years of IUIs and IVFs, I was then approached with the idea of egg donation, which was due to my endometriosis ultimately. And we did make that decision, which, I'm happy to talk about sort of like how I went through that decision with my husband. A lot of grief, and a lot of healing had to happen, a lot of growth. Um, but, I'm proud to say today would not change anything, of course, with my two children here today. And I'm very transparent. I'm an open book. So if you guys want to hear any of the nuances to that, I'm happy to share. 3 months later, I came out publicly about my infertility. I didn't share necessarily right away that I was using an egg donor. But I did in the next few months, I think, which I never really planned to do. It was just part of my healing journey. I couldn't find many people out there publicly that were talking about this. And so I thought, well, if I can't find it, I should just be it. And hopefully I'll start connecting with other people. So, I continue to share, I continue to be public about it. And I'm not saying that everyone needs to do that. We all have our own journey. And I think it's also based a lot on your comfort level and your personality. But it was something that I think helped me a lot, because it allowed me to, like I said, heal through my writing. I write a blog and I share on social, and allowed me to sort of like unfold this journey in a more beautiful lens, through my writing. And then September 2015, I started my first egg donor cycle. You can click to the next slide. That didn't work, unfortunately. That's the sad news. That egg donor who looked just like me, who acted just like me, who sounded like me, who had my same sarcasm, my same talents. Like I literally thought I hit the jackpot. Sadly, her eggs were like me too. This was a fresh cycle. She was a new donor, so I learned sort of the hard way. And new donors can absolutely be successful. This was just what happened in my case. And so I had to cancel everything. And I actually thought maybe that was the end for me and for my husband, because we had put everything into this, as you all know. You go through all the things, you put in all the money. I mean, we cashed out 401ks, we took out a loan on our home, credit cards, all the things. And then for my Hail Mary option, to not work, felt really debilitating. It felt like I was cursed in a way. It felt like I wasn't meant to be a mother. I had really dark thoughts. And so I didn't know if I was going to stop there. I just knew I needed a break. And so we took an entire year of just a pause. I call it my healing break. It was therapy. It was finding other people to talk to. It was psychics. It was lots of crystals and spirit cards and and all the weird woo-woo stuff that we all try because we're just grasping for anything to work and to make sense. And then I talk a lot about my 50% grief process because I think it's unrealistic to think that you'll be fully grieving your genetics or fully grieving your infertility as you move into egg donation. I do think it's realistic to get halfway there. And so I always tell people like we can half-ass anything, right? So if you can get yourself halfway there, I think you're in a good mindset to continue in the process. What I know now is when I entered that first egg donor cycle, I wasn't even halfway there. I was trying to cheat the system with an egg donor who looked and acted and talked just like me. And so when that didn't work, I had to really look at my situation and my perspective and my grief, my relationship with my husband, like all of it to reset, sort of like why was I doing this? What was my goal? And what was my vision of family? And if you click to the next slide. So then we started all over after this beautiful Thailand experience with a monk in the rain, something you'd see in the movies, who literally doesn't speak. Monks don't speak, but he gave me this message that I felt so clear about at the time in the rain, and I knew we had to try again. And so we came back from Thailand and we started over with a new egg donor, a new doctor. This time I chose someone who had similar physical traits, blonde hair, blue eyes, and had a couple of like heritage things that I could connect to, Irish, German. And her favorite movie was Step Brothers. So it just made sense to me. And she was fertile and she was healthy and, she had two children of her own. And so we made a choice to move forward with her. I got pregnant for the very first time at 38 years old, in November 2017. Delivered my daughter Florence July 2018. I talk a lot about her on my Instagram and in my blog, but um, I have no question in my mind that she was the child always meant for me. Um, I usually cry at this point because it's so hard for me to talk about her without getting emotional. Here it is. Sorry. That's how much I love her. She's truly a gift from somewhere sent to me to change my life, and she has. Um, from there, we had two more embryos from that egg donor, and so we thought for sure we were going to get two more babies, two more siblings for my daughter, and she so badly wanted a baby. We talked about it even when she was like 2 years old, 3 years old. She just kept asking me, Mama, when is the baby coming? And I just said, I'm trying, honey. I'm trying really hard. Um, and unfortunately, those two cycles failed. I hate to even say the word failed, they were unsuccessful. And so we were out of eggs. And so I said to her, I said, honey, I don't know what else to do. I've tried everything, and I've ran out of eggs. And I'll never forget her little 4.5-year-old, 4-year-old self. She said to me, Mama, just get new eggs. And I said, well, I can't just go to Trader Joe's. It's not that easy. And she said, well, Mama, you can do hard things. I can do hard things. We can do hard things. It's something that we always said to each other. And I'm like, gosh, she got me again. And so that night I said to my husband, I said, we gotta go get new eggs. He was like, are you crazy? And I'm like, yeah, I think I am. But this is when we made the pivot to frozen because we felt it was quicker, it was more affordable. We had more control over the process. As you learned in my first cycle, we didn't know what we were going to get. And so that's the pivot we made next. If you want to click to the next slide. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I did have a spontaneous pregnancy in the mix there that unfortunately miscarried while I was prepping for this cycle, which was, I still don't know how that happened. So then in June 2021, we chose a new donor via Frozen. Made the transfer in June 2022. I was pregnant with my son, who's now 2 years old, a little over 2 years old, who is the most curious, just adventurous, loving, so kind little boy who was like always the guy out there waiting for us to choose him and for him to choose us. He completes our family. He's the baby brother my daughter always wanted. Like it all just makes sense now. But of course, when you're in the thick of it, it feels like you're cursed. It's like, why me? This doesn't feel fair. And now, of course, it's easy for me to say, and I understand that looking back, that these were the paths I had to take to get to where I am today. And click to the next slide. So I like this quote, if any of you are Glennon Doyle fans, but I really think, if you look and you zoom out at sort of like what's your end goal here? It's to have this really beautiful, true life, right? To be a parent. And I think that beauty is born in sort of these messy, challenging moments that we never planned for. And often sort of those complex, challenges or those unfiltered, deeply real challenges are what makes our life so true. And I always say, like, the most beautiful life is one that we never could have imagined, right? Because we had to reshape our dreams in this process. I did, my husband did. And they were reshaped by grief. They were reshaped by deep sadness, and anger and jealousy and resilience and vulnerability. Um, and I think, just because it's hard doesn't mean it's wrong, doesn't mean that it's broken. And I think, sometimes these really hard roads often lead to like the deepest joy. So if you click to the next slide. My advice, which take it for what it's worth, just a couple of things that like stood out to me is allow yourself to feel that grief. You cannot avoid it. You cannot run from it. You can't push it down. It's going to come up. So the best way to move through this is to feel it, to look at it, to talk to it, to experience it, to share with others, to get therapy about. Because grief doesn't just go away. I mean, we've all grieved things, right? You just sort of learn to move through it. You learn to swim, keep swimming, even though maybe you feel like you're drowning. You learn to live next to it. And eventually, I think you then the joy starts to come back up, right? Because you've learned to cope and you've learned to live with it, that you start to now add some more of the positives and the love and the joy next to it. My second thing is find your safe people. And I always say your safe people are not always who you think they are. It doesn't mean it's your mom. It doesn't mean it's your best friend or your sister. Typically, your safe people are the people that get it, that have lived it, that understand your pain because they know it for themselves, that have walked this path. I'm happy to always connect you with people. I'm happy to be your person, your safe person. My DMs are always open. I think it's really important to have conversations with people that really get it. Um, because unfortunately, when you're in this deep grief, people can say really hurtful things unknowingly because they're just not educated, right? Typically, I think most people mean well, but I think unfortunately, there's just not enough awareness and education around this topic. The other thing is educate yourself. I talked about like the groups that we lead. And for me, it's not just about support, it's about education. Like there's so much to be learned about this path around the legal sides of it, around, like I said, epigenetics and like your actual impact on who your child becomes. And also just understanding like how to talk to your child, how to talk to your parents, how to talk to your friends, how to share about this stuff with maybe your kid's school teacher one day. And then I would say talk to other parents via donor egg. So people that have actually like had children, talk to them, like have them reflect back to you like their experiences. Lean into gratitude wherever you can. It's easy to get stuck in that grief. It's easy to get stuck in the sadness and the ugly feelings. But if you can little by little just find one thing each day to be grateful for, grateful that I get to be pregnant, right? I'm grateful that I get a chance to become a mom. Like just try to make those lists grow every day, and eventually you'll start to believe them. Um, the next one is I think unique because not everyone thinks about this, but reading kids' books and watching movies about unique families is going to help you wrap your head around this path in a way that a kid would, right? If you can put your lens on, like if you were a child learning about unique families, it's a lot easier to grasp than an adult reading about adult stuff. At least for me. Hence why I wrote a kid's book because I once I started talking to my daughter about it and hearing the way she talked about it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually so beautiful and so simple and so powerful. And so I think if we can start to like think like a kid almost and read some of those books, and I have recommendations for those things, it can help you reframe the way your brain is thinking about this. And then just allowing yourself to reimagine your dream. Like, don't be stuck on your initial dream, right? Maybe you can still, maybe no, maybe it's just reframing that initial dream, right? But thinking about is like, I still get a chance to be a mom. I'm going to go it a different way. And there's going to be a lot of learning in that. There's going to a lot to be a growth in that. I'm going to meet new friends, new people, and find this new community that I wouldn't have met otherwise. So just allowing yourself to think about it differently. Click to the next slide. So this is one of the hashtags for National Infertility Awareness Week, all in connection. That's the one for today, actually. So I've listed here a few resources that are some of my recommendations. I have more lengthy lists if you're interested. I have some things in Fertility Unfiltered that we offer that are specific to donor conception. One is a self-led course you can take. If you're just struggling with the decision, it can sort of help you through that decision. We also have the series that I talked about, which is a 6-week virtual series where we bring in the experts. You get to meet other people going through this. We also have a virtual community. Paths to Parent Hub is another donor conception specific virtual community. They do summits, they do online summits. They are based in the UK, but you can join a lot of their virtual things. They also have a community as well. And then donor conceived community is led by donor conceived people, donor conceived adults, who also have parent support groups as well as one-on-one consultations. So those I think are like the core offerings for people considering donor conception. And then on the right here are just some of the accounts that I, admire, that I think these are all people that are parents now via donor conception or donor conceived people. And then if you want to click to the next one. So I love quotes. If you haven't figured that out yet, I wish I could see you all and have you raise your hands to see who's watched this movie, but it's called The Wild Robot. It should be a requirement, Donor Egg Bank. You should require all your intended parents to watch this movie. It will change you. It will break you. It will make you back together again. It's so moving. It's about this robot, which you can see her picture there, who hatches the egg of this little cute duck. Who, the duck is, he takes his time to learn how to fly. He's smaller, his wings don't work as well. And she really nurtures him. I'm gonna cry. You'll cry during this movie. She nurtures him into being the most like amazing duck. I'm crying over a duck. Um, but I love this quote because like if you think about it, like, you do have to reprogram your beliefs, your brain around family. And I think choosing donor eggs or donor eggs chooses you, right? It's an active like expansion of your heart. It's growing your mind and what it means to be a parent. You're evolving, like you're becoming this new version of yourself that I don't think you'd get to be any other way. And it takes a lot of courage to grow beyond grief. And I think like surviving and thriving after genetic grief makes you the strongest possible parent you could ever be. Like I always say, my kids get this version of me. They wouldn't have gotten any other way. And like, that's really cool for them. That's really special for them that they get someone who is so healed, who is so vulnerable and transparent with them about feelings and about life and about just all the things in the world. And as a parent, you can say to your child, like, I chose you, even when the path was really effing hard and scary and unfamiliar, like, I chose you. And this movie makes us see that transformation isn't a flaw, it's the story. It's not just about surviving, it's how we become the parents we were always meant to be. And I think that's the end of my slides, if I'm correct. Oh, yes. And here are just how to reach me if you're interested in getting in touch.
Oh, so lovely, Victoria. Thank you.
Of course.
I'm gonna watch that movie.
Everyone has to watch it. I can't even talk about crying. You will cry. It's
I'm
going to
sure
be
I
really
will.
hard to watch at first, and then you're going to be like, yes, that was worth it.
I am sure I will. Thank you again. So I'll do a brief overview of some of our WSA offerings. Just a reminder, we do have our Q&A open, of course. You can ask questions, um, and we'll get to them as soon as possible once I wrap this up. Okay, so what plan options do we offer? So, if you visited our website, if you've talked to any of us, you may have heard of our refund plans. We do offer two different options for our refund live birth guarantee plans. Um, for both of these, our clients do need to qualify, but I want to say over 90% of people who apply will qualify to participate in them. But the lovely thing about these options that you have to choose from are that you're protected by this plan, which will provide you with a guarantee of a live birth or a refund of what you pay for your plan. Um, you have the opportunity also, should you choose, which most people do not, but should you choose at any point while you're in the plan to remove yourself from it, you may, and you would receive a 50% refund in that case. Um, Ask us about our live birth guarantee plans. These are the refund plans. Our Assured Refund offers services at your clinic. So it'll include the IVF procedures, transfers, while the multi-egg refund plan was designed for you to use with your fertility benefits. So we wanted to make sure that all clients, whether they had insurance or didn't have insurance, had the opportunity of savings while also being protected with a live birth guarantee. And next slide. So in addition to these live birth guarantee plans, we have options that are more simple, where you may select one egg lot, you may select two egg lots as a double egg lot. And all of these options, including our live birth guarantee plan, are protected by our blastocyst guarantee. So we have a quality guarantee in place that offers you a replacement egg lot should a blastocyst not be achieved. We do have a minimum requirement. It's very generous, but ask us about these options, and we do work with you'll see further ahead, some fertility financing and insurance that you can use to participate in these. Um, our single cycle plan is also one egg lot, but it is similar to our Assured Refund where procedures for your treatment are included. And so if you are at a participating clinic, we can explain what those costs are for you. But all of these do provide you with that blastocyst guarantee, and we have really excellent success rates. And so we invite you to call in to ask about what potential options may make the most sense for you. So here's our fertility benefit partners. As I was mentioning, we do work with several different partners. Progeny is one of them. You may apply your progeny benefits with our single egg lot plan. If you have Carrot, you can apply it with several different plans as well as Stork Club. Just be sure we'll need a referral from them, but we'll take care of all of those logistics. Make sure to mention that you're working with any of these partners if you call us so that you can take advantage of your cost saving benefits. And then in case you are looking for financing for your treatment for your donor eggs, we are currently working with CapEx MD, MediCard, by iFinance if you're in Canada, ARC Fertility and Future Family. So you could directly contact any of these financing agencies, but we're happy to get you connected or provide you with information so that you can take those next steps. Should financing be something that's on your mind or, a concern that you want to take care of ahead of time before moving forward with the selection process. And last but not least, our contact information. Um, Visit our website. I highly encourage giving us a call. I do think that that can sometimes be part of the toughest part, but it's also one of the most insightful points and places where you're able to ask a lot of the questions that are in the back of your mind. We have I want to say resourceful and just really kind team who really want to get your questions answered and they want to be thorough and I appreciate that. I think that people enjoy talking to them and um we will like to share what we think might help you with taking the next steps might be and answering your questions and getting you through the process so that you can start working with your clinic on your treatment as soon as possible. So visit our website. We have a chat. You can give us a call, or you can email us or contact us via our contact us page on our website. Okay. Let's see what questions we have in our Q&A. Someone asked about the recording. We will send the recording out. It takes us maybe a day or two to get everything processed, but um, we will be sending a link to anyone who's on our list here. So Victoria, there is a question here about your thoughts or experience and your children possibly meeting the donor one day in the future, and how does this relationship feature in the bigger picture of things?
Yeah, sure. So, you've probably gotten from me that we're very open about this in our family, very transparent. My daughter is very well versed in egg donation and how babies are made. And my son, he's only 2, but he gets the gist of it. I think, well, let me back up. So my first egg donor contract was anonymous at the time. And so I've tried to contact her and we haven't been able to make contact yet. Um, my second egg donor that I used for my son, we have an open relationship. So I mean, I just emailed her on Friday with some medical questions. So whether they want to meet them or not, I'm on board 100%, whatever they want to do. And we'll do everything I can to, turn stones over to find the information they need. Um, from my experience, when I've talked with a lot of donor conceived people, typically the most interesting connections they make are with the genetic half siblings. Um, from a grand, panel of people, the majority of them don't really have a lot of interest in meeting the donor necessarily. They a lot of times just want to know who they are. But the connections are more focused with the siblings. And sometimes those siblings are from the donor's children. Sometimes it's from someone else who used the same egg donor. But there's ways to explore all of those things. There's something called the donor sibling registry that exists. You can DNA test your child and meet people through 23andMe. There's a lot of options to do that. Um, and I will say in the beginning, I was not comfortable with that, with the idea of my child meeting any of these people. Now I'm very comfortable, but it takes time and support and education to get there.
Yeah, I will say that I don't want to quote myself incorrectly, but I've noticed that our program is we've had a mix of donors who are open and donors who are not open. But as time has moved forward since I've worked here, it's moving into a more open donor opportunity. for children once they reach that legal age to be in contact with that donor. Um, but absolutely just something to, I think more education is always best, and talking to people and taking all the resources you can. Someone asked about the difference between our assured refund and our multi-ECLAT refund plan. And so the major difference between those two plans I will mention is that our assured refund plan is it is the plan that is partnered with your clinic. And so in the cost of the assured refund plan, um, is going to be including the IVF treatments. So the thawing, fertilization, embryo transfer, will have all been a part of the cost that you pay Donor Egg Bank USA. While the multi-egg lot refund plan, you're paying us for just the cost of the plan for multiple egg tries, and you would work out the cost of IVF treatment with your clinic directly. But let us know. I'll take your name down and see if we have any contact information, but we can definitely find out what option is available to you, as your assured refund plan isn't available everywhere, but we can double check. Um, let's see. Someone asked about a promotional offer that we have. And so for the promotional offer, I know that there is a 5 business day due date for payments. Um, if you are making your donor selection and your plan selection this month, I encourage you to touch base with a family building consultant. They might be able to make sure that you get everything in order for you to benefit from that promo that we have going on. Let's see. And since our eggs are frozen, they can be shipped to your clinic and remain frozen for treatment in the future. So that might be helpful. I did think I saw some questions in the chat. Haven't had a chance to see.
Yeah, I see some in there too.
Okay. Someone asked when did you tell your daughter about donor egg?
Yeah, I started telling her when I was pregnant, to be honest. And it wasn't for her, it was for me to practice. And then I started telling her from the first day she was born, every single day for the first year of her life, I told her. And she didn't have words yet, right? But for me, I needed to get my story right. I needed to practice it. I needed to be able to look in her eyes and say the words and figure out a way to say it without breaking down crying. And that takes time. And had I waited to do that when she was 5 or 6, she would have thought, oh, this is a really sad story, you know? But now, because we've done it so many times and we iterated and made dinosaur stories out of it and made it fun, now it's a really joyful story. It's a prideful story. And so I really recommend it's as early as you can. And again, it's not necessarily for the child, it's for you to get comfortable with the words. And there's a lot of books to help you do that. You don't have to necessarily come up with it yourself. There's a lot of kids' books out there that exist that you can start reading when you're pregnant. And they can be really powerful tools to find your own version of the story. Eventually, I created a book for her, like with pictures and just sort of like a baby book, but with this part of, everyone creates baby books, but it's like a unique version of that has her conception story as a part of that.
That's very thoughtful. I like that. The reading the books, again, just any type of education and even the resources that you shared, I imagine are just so helpful for anyone who was kind of looking for guidance on that.
Yeah.
Um,
Another question just popped up in the Q&A. I can answer if
great.
you want about telling friends and family. I would say this one's probably harder than telling your kid. Because these are adult people, right? These are typically adults that have preconceived belief systems and notions about, what they think families should be. And depending on your family belief system, you know, it can be hard. And so I think my advice is to start with the safest people in your family first. Once you've had time to like really get through it on your own, like process. And you don't have to tell everyone all at once. You don't have to tell them when you're pregnant. You can, it's your journey to tell them when you want to tell them and to tell who you want to tell. There's a difference between privacy and secrecy, right? Secrecy is like we're trying to hide something because we're afraid of what people think, versus privacy is just we're private people and there's information that not everyone needs to know. I'm an open book, so everyone knows in my family, everyone knows in my life, my neighbor knows. That's just the way that I choose to do this. But I just started with my parents and my sister and my closest people and explained, that we've been struggling and my eggs just aren't working, and we need help. And I really need your support in this journey, and I need you to be on board with this path to motherhood. And I need to know, like, you're gonna love my kid the way you love my sister's kids. And my parents were almost offended. They're like, "Of course, are you serious? You're really asking, saying that?" I'm like, "Well, these are the fears I have." And from there, I just started telling friends and more family members. I let my mom tell some people. I let my sister tell some people that I was like, I don't want to hear their bullshit. Like, I'm gonna let you just take that one. And you need that village around you to help tell this story because it becomes a family story, and a part of your child's story. So the more support you can get from family members, the better. In our groups, a lot of times I'll have women bring their mom. I always say, bring your mom, bring your sister, whoever needs to get on board with this, bring them. Let us educate them too, because it's important. They're grandma, right? Like they're going to have to be talking to this child and answering potential questions, and we want them to feel confident. And usually it's just an education gap is usually the problem. Hopefully that answers.
Someone asked about total cost. I'm going to jot your name down, just because we have some plans that vary in cost. So I want to make sure that we're providing you with accurate cost. But we do have a financial guide to share, so we can get that out to you. Um, more about cost. If you're looking for a plan that does not include medical treatment coverage, I would say either our single egg lot, double egg lot, or our multi-egg lot refund plan are our best options for you. And it looks like Jenny wanted to just say thank you so much for sharing your story. I think we have some more in Q&A.
There's another one in the chat too. She said, "Did you think about using your sister as a donor?" And yes, of course I did. But my sister didn't offer, and I wasn't going to ask her and put her in a challenging situation. I had a cousin who offered, but ultimately she wasn't she probably wasn't the most fertile option according to my doctor. So we didn't go down that route. But lots of women that come through my groups use family members. I will say you really have to have a strong understanding, boundaries, open communication, transparency with that person. But it can be really freaking beautiful if you do. It can be done, but there's got to be a lot of like work, I think, and conversations that happen prior.
Someone asked, how did you and your husband get on the same page about donor egg and what helped you get there?
That was challenging. I'll never forget when my doctor first looked at us. We're in that like in the office, with your clothes on meeting. When it's like nothing's working, what are we gonna do now? She suggested it. And prior to that meeting, I had already done a bunch of research. I didn't even tell him that I had researched egg donation. I had so much shame. I had so much shame. I didn't even tell him, no one. And so when she mentioned it, that was his first time hearing about it. And he immediately shut it down and was like, no way, absolutely not. Um, and I just looked at him and was like, why not? And he was like, what? He was like, I married you. I wanted to have a child with you. Why would I do that? And I said, because you want to be a dad and because you're married to me and because this is where we are and this could be our path. And so he needed time, and I had to understand that his process was going to be different than mine. And so it was education. It was sending him articles. It was sending him stories. It was my doctor sharing a lot of really awesome epigenetic experiences that she had seen with her patients. That I think was a big one for him and for me initially, knowing that like it still was me and him having a child together. Like we still were going to be the parents and the ones who mold this child and nurture this child into who they're going to be. Sure, they might not look like me, but there's so many parts of me in these children. And there are parts of them that look like me. You know, if you really know me, you can see me in them. Um, but yeah, that's always a tough one. You know, it's because everyone grieves differently, and you got to sort of allow space for that.
Someone asked, how long did you search for your donor egg?
So for the first one, I searched months. I obsessed. I mean, I was a crazy person. And I removed my husband from the process because it felt icky. And I just said, I'm gonna, he was like, great, you do it. You show me who we're going with, and I'm gonna roll with it. Um, we all know how that turned out. My second egg donor, I probably took maybe 2 weeks to find. My third, same day. I mean, I think I was like, you know what? I'm not picking my child, right? Like we obsess over choosing the right person, but we're looking for healthy, we're looking for fertile, and we're looking for some genetic things that we can connect to. We're not going to find your carbon copy of yourself, your doppelganger. That's only you. Like there is no other you, right? So you have to sort of like make a checklist of like, here are my top three things or top four things. And for me, it was more about like being healthy, being fertile, and then finding some heritage connection. So like I said, the Irish German thing, because I wanted to be like celebrate St. Patty's Day together. I thought that'd be cool, right? Um, but I didn't search for my twin, and neither of my children really look like me. And both of their egg donors do very much look like me. My husband's also Colombian, so he has very dark traits that, like, neither of them have blue eyes or blonde hair. They're both brown hair, brown eyes, and the most beautiful brown skin. And so, I have a unique situation in that, like, his genetic traits outweigh the lighter traits. But I wouldn't change that. Like I look into their eyes, I don't see a color. I just see my child. I see a window into their soul. Um, so yeah, I think it depends on where you are in the process as to how long it's going to take you.
Yeah. I've seen that with a lot of people that I've talked to and worked with, and it can take some people, I mean, it really varies in what your heart is telling you at that time. And it is. Sometimes it's like, yeah, like that. And then others, it can take a while. But I do think, and that's the lovely thing is that you you find what you can connect with, and um, we've done a lot of the legwork in trying to screen, like we're doing everything possible so that everyone is healthy. So you have, um, you don't have to worry so much about all of that part because they've already been screened and tested and everything like that. But
Yeah.
um, incredible, even in your journey, that's the differences between them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy.
Um, can you speak a bit more about epigenetics and how
Oh,
you've seen
yeah.
it manifest?
Yes, I love epigenetics. I've been somehow coined as like the epigenetics social media person. I have an epigenetic scientist that speaks in our groups, and so I've totally geeked out on this stuff and have asked him. I mean, I send him articles all the time, and he's like, "How did you even find this, Victoria?" I'm like obsessed with it. So epi on top of genetics, right? So it's the influence of genetics based on environment, right? And the nurture and the womb and um, just the environment that a child is raised in, right? So there are actual non-genetic traits that you can pass on to your child. And they can be very subtle things, like facial expressions, like personality traits, like metabolism. There's a lot of crazy things that you can sort of pass on epigenetically, things that have manifested with my children. My daughter, when we smile, like I have one eye that squints, she has the same eye that squints, which is like crazy, right? Like something I always hated about myself. Now I freaking love it. My son, the way his toes stack, again, not a proud trait, but something very similar to me. One that I'll never forget is like when my daughter was a baby and she was a few months old, I don't remember. And my mom was like putting her down for her nap and she came out of her room. My mom was crying. I was like, "What's wrong?" And she was like, "Victoria, she smells like you." And I'm like, "Well, she's a baby, mom. Like, of course, babies smell, like, I'm sure, like, all babies smell the same." She's like, "Stop it. You don't know what you're talking about." She was like, "She smells just like you. I'm your mother. I know better than anyone." And so I started smelling her more and I'd smell other babies. And I'm like, "You're right. She doesn't really smell like anything because she smells like me. I can't smell her." Right. So I learned that that scent is actually an epigenetic trait. So you don't think about like how you smell, but like when you share that with someone, it's kind of cool. I mean, there's a lot of things like we burp, we all have burping abilities in my family, and my daughter is like outdoing my dad when it comes to burping challenges, expressions, like um I can pick up things with my feet. My daughter does that too. Like again, these are very weird, subtle things but if you know me, you know I do those things, right? Which I think is cool because it's like the people that really love me and know me, they see me and they're like, "Oh God." And my husband all the time is pointing out all my favorite things about myself and my children. Um, but it's cool. And then there's genetic things that both my children have a widow's peak, which that is genetic. That's not epigenetic. I have a widow's peak. It's a big thing in my family. And my husband does not, and neither of the egg donors had a widow's peak. So how do you explain that one, guys? I can't tell you. So there's crazy like little special things like that too that just happen that I'm like, oh, that's really cool.
I don't know. Someone did also ask if there's a limit on how many times a donor can donate, and there is. We limit our donors to 6 donations. Not every donor is going to donate up to 6 times. But if should somebody choose to make the maximum number of donations, they may do it up to 6 times. And I think that might be it, Victoria.
Think so.
Wow. Well, this was incredible. Thank you so much again for joining us today. Thank you for your time um and your caring responses. We really appreciate you joining us today.
It's my honor. It's truly my greatest honor to be able to tell this story.
Right, excellent. Well, as I mentioned, our webinar will be recorded. We will send it out to you if you registered for this webinar today. And again, give us a call, send us a chat if you have any questions. We're happy to answer them or find out the answer so that you can be on your way and taking next steps. So thank you all so much. Have a lovely rest of your day.